Hi guys, this is Charles. I'm one of the surgeons at the Animal Emergency Center in Melbourne. We've got an interesting case today, which is an 8-year-old dog that presented with a history of abdominal pain. The abdominal pain responded to antibiotics and to anti-inflammatory medications. They did an X-ray and found what they thought was a mass in the caudal abdomen, did an ultrasound and found a paraprostatic cyst. And so we're going to neuter the dog, and we are going to omentalize that cyst. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel. Make sure you turn on notifications so you get a ding on your phone the next time we live stream. So just have you pull that penis over to the side, please. All right, so we're doing a parapreputial incision because we need to get into the caudal abdomen. So if you need to get into the caudal abdomen of a dog, you need to go parapreputial. We're also going to castrate the dog. When we are doing a parapreputial incision, a couple of things we need to be aware of. The caudal superficial epigastric vessel is right there. The other thing is that we've got the preputialis muscle, which is right here, and you need to reconstruct that or they'll pee sideways. So we'll make sure that we reconstruct that on our exit from the abdomen. So I'm just going to isolate that a little bit. And then that includes, or the caudal superficial epigastric is sitting right there. So I'll go ahead and ligashore through both of those. I'm going to need a new ligashore handpiece because this one does not have the scissor built in. The thing has come off. It's like old-fashioned ligashore. So the old-fashioned ligashores did not have the scissors built into them. So this ligashore, we'll go ahead and take it out of the thing here, and that'll have to go in the bin. So again, I've ligated the cranial or caudal superficial epigastric, and then I've transected their preputialis muscle, and by ligassuring it, I can see the burnt or the brown margins, which means I'm going to be able to find them in order to reconstruct, find those two ends in order to reconstruct when we're on our way out of the abdomen. So I'm just trying to find our linea alba. And the linea alba gets very, very thin caudally, and so it's very easy to miss the linea in the caudal end of the abdomen. So we can actually see the cyst poking out right here. I'll have to be careful not to poke through that, so actually I'm going to tense. So because we don't have the falciform fat protecting the abdomen caudally, I can't just burn through it. On radiographs, this looked like just a huge urinary bladder. So where are we here? So I think that's all the cyst there. Let's see if we can get our balfours into the abdomen. It might be they might be too big. Okay, so that's the urinary bladder right there, okay? And that's the cyst right there. So how cool is that? So that's all paraprostatic cyst sitting right there. I might zoom out a little bit on the camera just to make sure that we can see everything. All right, so again, to reiterate, that's the cyst right there, and that's the urinary bladder sitting right there. We've got ureter, and that might be vas deferens right there. I need to see if I can identify, so those are vas deferens. I need to see if I can identify the ureters going into the bladder distinct from the cyst. So that's the prostate right there. Okay. And this dog just presented with abdominal pain. Just cut that with. So that's prostate, and I would love to see the ureters, but I'm not going to go digging for them. Just have to be careful not to cut them. As I'm dissecting. That is ureter right there. I could easily have cut through that inadvertently. So that's the ureter sitting right there, going into the bladder here. Okay, so that's good to notice. So what I'm going to do with this cyst is try to dissect out as much as I can and then omentalize whatever remains. So that's the vas deferens attached to the prostate right there. Just lift that up for me, please. Okay, so vas deferens is there, ureter, one ureter is there. We've got our new ligashore handpiece. Okay. We've got all of this paraprostatic fat. Just make sure there's nothing important in there. There is not. Okay, so again, vas deferens there, ureter there, where's the other ureter? That's the other ureter. No, that's vas deferens. I'd like to find the other ureter. Okay, so that's the other ureter right there. So they're both coming in there. All right, so we've identified both ureters. Now what I'm going to do is put a hole into the cyst, and we'll suction. I don't think we need to, but we'll. So we'll just suction that down. And then I'll just make a ring around with the ligashore. And then just pack some momentum into the remainder, and Bob's your uncle. So that's just shrinking down to nothing. It's a very good thing we identified those ureters before we did anything drastic. And that is not urine, just for the record. Okay. So now I'm just going to come in from the side here. I'm just making sure that we're watching for the ureters as we go. So that's my ureter sitting. You can tip it out, yeah.
You don't want to say
I don't think we need. Let's just grab onto that, and we'll just stretch the.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can go ahead and culture the inside of the cyst.
Mia, would you mind open the culture swab, please?
Oh, okay. You want me to you can.
Go ahead and culture the inside. Get some warm saline, please. Actually, hold up just a second. I'll be a little bit. Thank you. Sorry. Just making sure we're still miles away from our ureter. It's right there. Yep. All right, so that's the inside of the cyst there. That's great, thank you. All right, so let's flush just the remainder a little bit. That's great, thank you. And I'm just going to check my ureter one more time. So that's one side there. And then coming up on the other side there. Yep, so we're miles away from our ureters. All right, so now I just need to take a pedicle of Omentum.
Some free obedience.
Yes, please. I'm just taking a mental pedicle. And we'll just stuff it in there. And I'll suture that in place. Can I get a... Again, I still have to be careful not to inadvertently ligate one of those ureters. Yeah, so the diagnosis was made on a combination of X-ray and ultrasound. X-ray, it did look just like a urinary bladder, and in fact, that's what I thought it was when they sent me the X-rays, but then they confirmed that the bladder was distinct from it. And we definitely don't need to drain this post-op. I'm just being very careful to avoid the ureter here. You can let go of that, yeah. Just tuck that in. Leave that down and lift that up there for me, please. I think we're pretty much ready for some warm saline.
there is recurrence from the copper that you couldn't get, it'll just be drained by the omentum.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Because you've omentalized, it's the hope that if we do get recurrence, it'll just be drained by the omentum.
Yeah, and we won't get recurrence because we've castrated.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, checking the ureter one more time. We've got some distance there. Okay. So we'll do a quick X-lap just to see. So the liver looks great. Spleen looks normal. Duodenum. I can't do a complete X-lap from a caudal abdominal approach, but I can at least have a quick look.
And I still got 5 swabs.
I'll just run the bowel. Very embarrassing if this dog had a foreign body in here the whole time or something that we missed. We did not CT this dog preoperatively. So that's ileum because of the antimesenteric vessel right there. And there's a comment why all of the cyst capsule didn't need to be removed. Because we've omentalized it, that's going to prevent recurrence. And also, there was risk of damaging the ureters if we remove the whole capsule. Alright, so we'll go ahead and flush. We get some OPDS, please. Thank you. The question about why is omentalization necessary here? It's because we didn't remove the whole capsule because the ureters were kind of incorporated into the capsule of the cyst. And so I know that omentalization is going to totally, take care of the problem. It's kind of which came first, the chicken or the egg, as far as whether you need to omentalize it or remove the whole capsule, but a combination of removing as much as you can reasonably and then omentalizing is kind of the best of both worlds. All right, so now we will just close the linea. Just get my Gelpies in here so I can see the linea well and not risk closing the false linea inadvertently. Thank you.
I still got 5 swabs.
And because I'm not on the linea, I just have to close the external rectus fascia. I don't have to close the internal rectus fascia or the peritoneum or the muscle itself. Key here is to make sure we've got good knots at both ends, and so I'm going to do probably 6 throws and then leave my tag long, because if you leave a short tag, it's possible that it would come unraveled. And I always do simple continuous on the abdominal wall because I'm confident in my knots at both ends. Get some 2O PDS, please. These owners live in Kangaroo Island, which is off Adelaide, which is probably a half an hour drive, then a ferry ride, then an 8.5 hour drive.
I say, like, Adelaide is not half an hour from here.
I think they've got a house here in Melbourne as well. Because I did tell the referring vet, look, I'm sure that there's somebody in Adelaide that can cut a paraprostatic cyst. Make sure that I've closed enough up here. Yep. Leave that long, please. All right, so then we'll do a little sub-Q and incorporate the proputialis muscle into that sub-Q closure. Where's my 2O PDS? Thank you.
For the castration.
Could probably castrate him through here. Might just extend the incision a little bit farther caudal. Can I get a lap sponge, please? Yep, just push it forward. Now, why would I use hemostats when I've got ligashore?
Get too used to that.
So there's a question how big my operating theater is. I think it's about 4 by, or 3.5 by 4, something like that would be the minimum that I would want to have. I have operated in smaller. Kind of coming from the other side a little bit here. Just squeeze that in the back there. Come on. Out you come. Still not open.
Always do open.
I always do open, yeah. But that, you know, I count the number of castrations I do every 10 years on one hand. So all right, so the old sneaky ligature or castrate.
Make it easy.
I'm sure that everyone watching would be much more skilled at doing a castrate or a spay than I am. I would be lost without ligature on either. Mm. Get in there. I will let,
I will take it from you.
yeah, let Cindy and Emma do the bupivacaine block. And I'm just going to close this to the point that I have closed the proputialis muscle, just to show you that I'm closing it separately, and then I'll let Cindy and Emma take over.
Everything is fine.
Just leave that alone for a second. Do you know where my other suture is? Here we go. All right, so this is the proputialis muscle right here. And that's the other edge of it right here. And you can see that I'm advancing it slightly. So going from caudal-medial to craniolateral. Just that one. So again, just making sure that I'm reconstructing that so he doesn't pee sideways. That would be very rude.
I keep thinking like, oh, this seems like such a fundamental principle. Why didn't they teach us this? And I'm like, well, you don't do.
Paraproputial.
Yeah.
Get that cut, please. I think I'll just tie this one off here. All right, so when you close that, just make sure you tuck that in. We'll do sub-Q here and then probably just intradermal all the way up. Okay? All right, so I will go back and make sure there aren't any questions that I haven't answered before I end the live stream. I think the same approach would be used for a perinephric pseudocyst. Hi, Vinay. Hi, Syria, Florida, Indiana, and Dubai. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the live stream. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel. Make sure you turn on notifications so you'll get a ding on your phone the next time we live stream, and we will see you again soon.